I just purchased a new tool for my shop that at first blush seems to be exactly like what I work with all the time, but trust me, when you're scaling it down like this, it's quite different. And it's in this wee little box. It's my new Smith little torch. Look how tiny it is. Look at this little torch body. I think it's basically a jeweler's torch, which is what I've wanted for a while. I don't know if anyone remembers back when I repaired this little silver bird. I didn't know that it was silver or mostly silver when I was working on it, and I tried TIG welding it and it didn't work at all, irrespective of the amperage I tried to use. And so I wound up using the smallest oxyacetylene tip I have, which was like a 2 or 3. So I would just heat up this tiny bird leg and pull it away and heat it up and pull it away. I'm finding myself wanting to do more delicate little things like ornaments on copper and brass, and I don't know, maybe get into jewelry making, but probably not, because just watching the videos of my friends do it, like I see how they're doing it and I see their tools they're using, they're all familiar and I get it, and it's exactly what I do in here, sized way down and with precious metal, and it's just, I can't even imagine. Here, when I use my hacksaw, I'm just like, like, don't care what happens to what falls out of it, but like they're filing little precious metals and having to collect the dust because it adds up over time. Anyway, I just want to mess around with a tiny torch. Look at that. It's just a little guy. Put these tips somewhere where they're not going to roll away. Unboxing. Uses materials as thin as 1/1000th of an inch up to 16 gauge. I need some pennies. Need my reading glasses. I'm also switching over to propane for this. I usually run acetylene in my other setup, but I understand propane is far cheaper and I know it's cleaner, so we're gonna give it a shot. I usually chain my tanks, but I haven't done that tonight, so do as I say and not as I do. That's okay because I also can't find my thread tape. I'm gonna be redoing all this anyway, but I wanna check it out and see how it works. This is my new oxygen regulator. By the way, my guy at the weld supply store told me about a deal that I never knew about until now, and that is that Victor does a regulator trade-in. So if you've got any old regulators kicking around in your toolboxes, you can trade those in for a discount on a brand new Victor single stage regulator. I don't have my receipt, but I think I paid something like $80 for one of these instead of 115, 20 something. I am, however, going to put my flashback arresters into place. I always like to have these on. Actually, I have too many on. On my big torches, I've got arresters on my regulator and on the end of my torch body. But that can really restrict the flow and give you an inaccurate reading on the regulator, so maybe I shouldn't do that anymore. And there's a check valve on there. So like, 3 methods of safety. It might be a little bit overkill, but call me a worrier. I'm just going to kind of be snugging these up because I can't find my thread tape anywhere. Nobody at me about the adjustable. It's literally all I can find right now. For those of you who don't know what a flashback arrestor is, it's a safety device that keeps the flame from flashing back into the fuel gas or the oxygen. I have no idea what pressure to set this at. I'll have to check the little chart. I'm gonna start with this big one first. Make sure these are I don't know how to measure that little of an amount. Look at it. Look at that. Cool little. Oh, that's fun. So that's the propane. Oxygen. Oh. How cool is this? Is it still hot? Someone who knows what they're doing, is this too harsh? Is this a harsh flame? It sounds harsh. You don't want the flame jumping off the end of the tip. I would guess that that's as hot as you would want this size tip. I want to burn something. Can I test this out? What can I solder? Oh, and I need how am I not going to burn my table up? Given to me by a guy who said it is thermally insulating. Like, it's soft. Could anyone tell me what this is made out of just by looking at it or letting, like, me poking at it or something? Like, is it terrifically hazardous to have in my shop? Like, asbestos? Am I breathing in some bad stuff, or can I throw it on top of this table and use it to kind of protect it from the heat? Just gonna use a brick for now. I just grabbed a couple of pieces of scrap brass and copper. And all the things I've been making out of it lately, I've been TIG welding with silicon bronze rod. I fully admit I don't know what I'm doing. I just cut some hearts out of brass and copper and punched my daughter's names into the copper part, and I'm going to stick the copper one on the brass one. When soldering, you need some capillary action, meaning you want your parts close enough so that when the filler liquid gets liquidy, it sucks itself in. I have done zero prep work to this. Like, I haven't flattened them, I'm not going to clamp them, I'm just going to see what happens. I am using silver solder, I'm pretty sure, and the Stay Still flux paste. Ooh, it's kind of fun to color copper with. So I can already tell the difference on how to color copper. Copper's taking the heat different than the brass is. Wow, it's so strange having done this with a higher heat and a bigger torch, and then kind of having just a little bit more time to play with it. These won't be pretty, but I wasn't sure that's what I was aiming for anyway. I can touch the inner cone to the filler. Mama tried. It's so scorched and gross, but I got it to flow. I'm very much up for comments on the first attempt. Well, that's it. That's my new little jeweler's torch, and it's got a learning curve on it for me. Surprisingly, more of one than I thought it would. Am I getting it too hot? Did I just get my tip too hot, or is that usual, that the color changes? Perhaps someone can suggest a better beginning project for me.